what I'm going to grow in the no-weed garden behind the shed there. I'll show you that after a while, maybe in this video, we'll see. But this is a container I use. Now this container, I show me developing it about 2013, maybe 2014. But this is a sucralose food grade container. And all I did with this container, this is the old label, it said sucralose on it, is I cut it off here all the way around. Again, you can go to the video. And so that became my grow container. I did drill holes for a net cup in the bottom to do my old fawn system. And I still use these containers to today for what I'm going to show you. So this is the container, and this is the wire. You can see that is welded wire fence. And I got that from Tractor Supply. There's 100 foot of that. And what I do is I wrap the wire around the container, and once it's filled with media, it's pretty dang heavy and will grow really good until the tomatoes get all the way to the top and they're bushy, and then the wind can push it over. But I've got a solution for that. The first thing I'm going to do with these containers, I've got them all lined out here, is I'm going to sanitize them. At this point, I have filled the containers with a mixture of half sphagnum peat, half aged rice hulls, and I put it in the container like I did here. Then I added one of these plastic bags. This is a grow bag, I guess you'd call it. It's got it's black on the inside. It prevents light from coming in. And I noticed these things will allow algae buildup on the inside. So I'm using this to cover the container just like this, and it's going to be over the cage, so it it provides a gap here, a little bit of a gap, which hopefully will help with thermal or heat release, so the pot won't be directly heated like if it was here and it didn't have it. You know, when the sun comes in, it beats on that. That's going to heat this. But if there's a little bit of gap between the cage here holding it, that's going to hold the plant, and the plastic bag, that may help a good bit. But I know for certain it'll help with keeping the algae out, which is something I also want to do. I bought these particular bags probably about 3 years ago. I was going to use them in the no-weed garden, but I'm continuing to use these. I like these better. So that's what we're doing. I've got the cage on, pot. Now what needs to happen is I'm going to carry and place these over in mass, and then I'm going to take this off. I'm going to plant the tomato in here, and then I'm going to put this piece of, this is microgreens mesh that I use to grow microgreens with, and it's extra material that I saved. But really it's polypropylene screening, and I made a place for the tomato, and then I'm going to put the tomato in, obviously, then put this over it, and then I'm going to add some loose aged rice hulls only as a mulch on top of this. And what that should do, this screen, as it drips, it should prevent a divot from where it constantly drips in the same place. And also it should hold in some moisture. So that's the purpose of that screen there. Now I just need to set these all in place. I've got tomato plants out here. I'm planting them. You can see that all the containers have the little cover over them. It's also over the cage itself. The cage, one time wrap around, is 3 feet. And I've got my medium in there in the screen. I think I already talked about that. But the drip line is every 18 inches. So I missed, you see a little piece of duct tape here that I put some zip ties over because I don't want it to just leak in here. And it's 3 feet apart. Each container is 3 feet apart. I got it all the way down. Now leaning against that particular container is my PVC dibber It's also a stir stick. It's made out of PVC, obviously. And it's got 2 end caps on it. And what I do with this is I take and put it inside the container. Down here, I just push it in, just like so, and then just kind of waller it like that. And it makes a hole all the way to the bottom of the container. And that is how I plant the tomatoes. I'll do one more here. Just push it in right in the middle, all the way down, and just lift up like that. Now I'm ready to plant a tomato. On the side of the shed, I've got a couple shorter rows here, and they're 18 inches apart. I just put a container every 18 inches. And up here, as you can see here, this one says Tachi. And all I did was I took a garden tag and just wrote it in pencil so the sunlight and weather wouldn't fade it out. It's better to use pencil for that sort of thing. Markers will fade. You won't be able to read it before too long. But anyway, I just took a couple of 4-inch zip ties and secured them towards the top here. That way I don't have to bend down into the container to see what it is and try to find it. Well, one of the last things I did was I put a cord here. This is paracord. It's nylon cord. I just took 2 T-posts on each end and I stretched that paracord down, and it's just a preventative because the winds whip through here so high, and with this paracord here, when the tomatoes get high enough, they get enough wind capability to knock it over, and so that paracord is just going to prevent that. So I did that on all the rows. I'm at the front of my house, and you can see the fence, and behind the fence there is where the no-weed garden is. You might recognize the shed. But I'm here to show you about how I water, and it starts here at the front of the house. I've got a hose that goes back there and feeds a tank. I'll show you in just a second. But the hose is on a timer at a water spigot here, and I have it set to come on every other day at 9 a.m. for 15 minutes, and that waters both the no-weed garden and the main garden, both of them. 15 minutes every other day, every 2 days, you can see there. So this is a really good, I'm not sure who makes this one, but a lot of people make these. So you see that time there, it's 10:41 in the morning, and this has already gone on for the day, but I'm going to do it manually for we'll just do 6 minutes here just to show you. There, it kicked on. If you listen closely, you can hear the air clearing as they start dripping. There's one, and I've checked them already. They all do that. They're all dripping nicely. You'll see the zip ties. I don't know if I've talked about this, but I put a zip tie on either side of the hole because they're not level. And if I didn't do that, it could run along the pipe and drip outside. So what happens is I just put those zip ties there, and then when the water hits a zip tie, it does like it does here, and this one right next to it. It follows the path down, the least resistance down one of the zip ties, and drips where I want it to. Well, this is my feed tank, feed reservoir, and I've got a drip irrigation going that's fed by an injector system here. And I bought this a couple years ago and it works really good. It looks kind of complicated, but it's really not complicated. Let me show you. This line here comes from that spigot up front I just showed you. It comes here, the left side, or this right side here is turned on. I've got another side here that pumps back into the other T that goes in, and that way I can just fill the whole tank directly by just following this line. It feeds back into the T over there and goes back into the tank. But that's just for refill purposes. But without that, just follow this up and it goes to a bypass here. If it goes straight, you see this is turned on, it goes through the injector, and the water pressure causes the injector, as it flows out and down here, you see this one's off, it flows down, it goes into a Y here, and this one feeds the no weed garden, and this one feeds the main garden out behind in the backyard. And each one of these has a 25 psi reducer on it, so total of 50 psi can go through the system. The injector sucks fluid from this tank and it comes out of the Y on the other side, and when this is turned on, it flows from the tank through this little screen filter here, and then it sucks it back up into the injector here, and it pulls a little bit of fertilizer from the water coming through here and feeds it into the main water and down, like I said, to these two, the no-weed garden and the main garden. That injector was probably about $150, and you have to do a little bit of maintenance, but it's on it every year or a couple times a year, but it's not that hard at all to do. I've also got a gasket replacement in case the gaskets and mechanisms go bad in there. Obviously the feed going through here, this one goes straight down to this T, and the T is a loop. It connects all the way around the whole perimeter in two different directions here, so when it feeds, you can see here, little tomatoes here. It's quite cold here still. We need some heat to start these tomatoes going. Pretty good, but I think the highs right now are in the low to mid 60s, and you're just not going to have much tomato growth in those temperatures. The other one that goes to the main garden is a hose, and it follows its way out here and then out to the main garden out there. You see the hose here comes over and hits the corner of the main garden. And I've already planted peppers. I've started a video that was actually before this one where I planted these peppers, and I'll show that. But I've removed all of the fabric here, which I'll discuss in that other video, but it is ready. But you can see the drip tape going all the way around the perimeter. There will be lines going across here. I've got squash that's ready to plant. Again, that will be in the main garden video coming up. Alright, that's the tour of the no-weed garden and how I'm planting it up this year. We're using the containers again, as you can see behind me, and I'm really excited about this. The reason why I went with it this way this year was a couple reasons. One, last year planting here in the ground, I had some issues with disease, leaf spot I believe. The second and primary issue was behind me. Before, I used EMT to make trellis, and the trellis stuck above the fence here, and every time I drove into the house to from wherever I've been, I drove through, I saw all those EMTs sticking up, and it just looked unsightly to me. So that was a big reason why I changed back to this way, but disease was also a major factor. So this is what I went with. I think it's going to be good once the temperatures start rising. It's pretty set it and forget it. You know, the timer kicks on, it feeds. I go out there and I change the nutrient about once every couple of weeks, and in the reservoir tank, and it just kind of feeds. So I just get to come out here and watch things grow. So this is Brent, you guys. I just wanted to give you an explanation and a visual of what's going on with the no-weed garden out here today. And yeah, looking forward to the growing season. I'll do a video on the main garden, and I'll do an update on the winter grow room with the grow tubes, because I've also done those. Just been really busy lately, so I know the videos aren't coming as much as they used to. But anyway, this is Brent, you guys. We'll see you later.